Soul Tribe family, it's your girl Soliel Lindsey of Soul Rise Essentials. Today you are watching another episode of Soul Seed Conversations, our mental health podcast. We exist to share stories of resilience to build global community and for you to discover new ways to thrive via the brave voices of others. I am so excited to have with me Jessica Hill, LCSW. You will know what that means if you don't already know. In just a second, we will be bringing her on to share her amazing story and also her work, her life's work and passion with the community. She's also known as the Black Man's Therapist. We're going to bring her on in a little bit. Just want to make some house announcements, y'all. It's been so long since I felt like I've been on here. As you know, if you are a follower of us, part of the Soul Tribe family, then you know that we do our live podcast here on Instagram once a month. But it feels like it was so long ago that I was sitting in this seat talking to Dr. K. If you are joining us live, thank you so much for being here. Please send this to people that you think would enjoy this conversation, that are social workers, that are mental health advocates, people struggling with mental health, people who just like to talk about mental health, who love things, psychology, who love community, who love real, honest dialogue, authentic communication, and just getting to know people and just to learn something new, who like to be inspired and to inspire. Again, if you don't know me, I'm the owner of Soul Rise Essentials. My name is Soliel Lindsey, and I'm super passionate about mental health advocacy and wellness, and also community. I am the owner here and the speaker of Soul Rise Essentials as well. If you're looking for a speaker or a facilitator, a workshop facilitator as well, you can go to my website at booksoleil.com. That's BOOKSOLIEL. If you want to rock some of this dope merch that I have on, you can shop our mental health apparel at soulriseessentials.com. That's SOL. Hold on, let me get my cup, honey. And let me pour some water in it, child. Soul Rise, SOLRISE, essentials.com, okay? You can always, honey, go to our website and copy you a Soul Tribe affirmation necklace. You can bet on that, okay? If you're new to our podcast, you can watch it here live on Instagram. All episodes are uploaded to our YouTube podcast. You can go to YouTube and type in Soul Rise Essentials, SOLRISE Essentials, or you can type in the name of our podcast, Soul Seed Conversations. We would absolutely love to see you in our merch. We make things for adults, for children, young, old, purple, green, blue, white, boys, girls, others, all the people, anybody that is passionate about mental health and mental health community. We want you to be part of our Soul Tribe. If you're not scared to use your voice, use your story, tell your story, share your story, then you're in the right place, okay? You're watching the right podcast. Not only that, but you're in the right place of a community of people called the Soul Tribe who are on a journey, not only to make the world a better place, but to make yourself a better person for the world to be a better place. First, you heard me. Catch that. Rewind and catch that if you are watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, put in our comments down below, #replay. If you make it all the way to the end, you are going to want to put some sunshine emojis in the comments. Before I bring Jessica on, I want to let you know that although she is a professional, hey, Ma, although we talk to professionals on this show, anyone sitting in the soul seat is a human sharing their lived experience, okay? The therapist hat goes off if you see any therapists on this show, because we have them on here quite often. And today we're blessed and lucky enough to have a licensed clinical social worker, okay, with a master's in social work. She got the credentials, okay? But today, she is a human sharing her lived experience. And I say that because we are not giving any medical or professional or mental health advice on this show. We are sharing lived experiences, sharing real voices. And sometimes we just happen to have some super extra dope people, you know, on the live, on the podcast. And yeah, we have to put that out there. You know, legalities are involved in these kind of things, okay? And also, I want you to be mindful of trigger warnings. We discuss some heavy topics here. People love the podcast, child. People say they love the podcast, okay? But we talk about some deep stuff here. We do share some deep things. We talk about mental health. We talk about some traumas. And so if anything that's ever said on this show is touching you in a certain way, baby, self-preservation is key over here, okay? So you can pause it or you can exit out, you can come back, or you can never come back. We understand it. Your mental health comes first. So we don't want to be triggering nobody. Baby, take care of yourself because of the sensitive topics that we discuss sometimes. And again, we're not treating or diagnosing. We are simply sharing our lived experiences with the hope to create community around the movement, okay? Around mental wellness at Soul Rise Essentials. So Jessica, I hope you're ready for me, girl. I'm ready for you. There she is. Hey, gorgeous. How are you? It is so wonderful to see you. Welcome to the Soul Seat, Jess.
Thank you. I feel so good to be in the seat.
Yes, honey. Yes. So I know who you are, Miss Jessica Hill, but please introduce yourselves to our audience here at Soul Seat Conversations.
Okay, so hello everybody. I am Jessica P. Hill. Before I am any other title, I always like to say I am number one, the daughter of the Most High King. Before I am a therapist, before I am any other title, I'm the daughter of the Most High King. Professionally, I am a licensed clinical social worker, and like Miss Soliel said, I work with.
Hold on, we're gonna get this together right now. Soliel.
Oh, okay. Well, I said Soliel. I'm sorry. Yes, correct the people every single time. Correct name. I am affectionately and professionally known as the Black men's therapist, and what that solely means is that I see Black men within my practice, and I'm an advocate for them. And so, I have been in the game. Wow, almost 10 years now. I still feel like I'm a baby when I look at, I call them the sages of the field. And so it's always, every day is a learning experience. And I love what I do. And so I'm excited to kind of get into that a little bit. But like you said, today, I'm not just the therapist, I'm a human. So I'm excited to, take that hat off and just sit in the seat for a second.
Absolutely. First off, I have to give a little background and thank you for the introduction to the people of how I've come to know you. I don't remember like the first interaction, but I know every interaction that we have through mutual business colleagues or personal friends is always positive, always shining. You have a very beautiful presence, not just because of your physical attributes, but like the spirit. Okay, honey. A lot of people don't have that. Okay. And I always like to say it's not on you, it's in you. And I feel like you represent that very well. And I love how you came out the gate like, honey, I'm a daughter of the king. Listen. You know exactly who you are. And a lot of people don't have that certainty. Because I remember when we were talking for the pre-interview and I asked you your age, I was shocked. Because how old are you again?
I'm 28. I'll be 29.
Shocked. The maturity level, you on your stuff, honey. And I just love it. And I'm sure that wisdom translates over to all of your clients as well. So you said that you're also known as the Black man's therapist. Does that mean that you only see men at your practice?
So currently, they are not the only that I see. However, I do not accept any other I don't accept any women. I don't accept children. So I only see Black men, but I did not take the women that I had on my caseload already. I didn't say, okay, I'm transitioning. So they're still there. But when people reach out to me, I let them know that this is my population that I primarily serve, to always have that seat open for. I start them as young as 10 on up. And so,
wow. Wow. Okay. So we're going to get into all of that. Before we do that, I have a couple of different segments on my podcast. And I like to start off, because we're a mental health podcast, I don't mind going deep. I like I said earlier, we have a lot of fun here.
Yeah.
But I also like to have these real honest conversations, especially since you do have credentials as a licensed clinical social worker. I like to ask, love asking this question and receiving the answers, because I think we're at a point where we're, destigmatizing therapy. I think we're doing that really well right now in our community, but I do see a lot of weaponization of therapists and of therapy. Well, my therapist said this, and you need to go get healing, and that's not what it's for, y'all. And so I love humanizing. I love humanizing therapists because there's biases. We all have biases, right? And I love having this podcast because I get to talk to not just normal people, right, but also people who have accolades in the mental health space and also credentials, designators behind their names. It humanizes them when I ask them this question. So I love for people to be able to see the human side of therapists. Of course, you still keep your professionalism, but I want people to know you can't weaponize people. They just people at the end of the day. Right. And so to that I say, How is your mental health? On a scale from 1 to 5 in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
how is your mental health? One being the lowest, like,
Mm-hmm.
child, it's real,
Yeah.
real, it's a lot going on over here. To
Mm-hmm.
5, like, I'm feeling great. Where are you at?
I would say I'm at a 7.
Okay.
I'm
One
at a
to five, and you at a 7?
so I'm gonna say 6.5, and I'm gonna be honest because I have been in a season of doubt and worry. And it's hard because as a woman of faith, it's like I'm giving all of this to people, and I'm giving this wisdom, and I'm working through interventions when it comes to like worrying and self doubt, and I'm have to check myself like, Jessica, if you know that you're the daughter of a king, like why have you not taken the time to sit in the seat of a daughter, like to sit in the seat of like, you my daddy, like I'm gonna let you handle this. And I feel like that I have been in a season of just trying to hold on to stuff and recognizing like I don't have no control, like I don't have any control. And so I definitely feel that I recognize where it's coming from. It's my lack of focus, it's my lack of taking the time and doing the things that I need to do, and a lot of it is really spending that in the closet in my secret place with God. So I will say that I know why I'm here and I know how to get out of it, but it's just being in my own way of, and also that feeling of like, sometimes when you go away from God or feel like that you haven't been spending that time, you don't want to, I know for me, I look at him sometimes in a human space and I know he's not that, where it's this feeling of like, I don't want to go back to him now because, because that's what we do as humans. Like when you talk to your friend, you haven't talked to somebody, it's like, oh, now you're going through something, you back. And so I have to get out of my own way and understanding like, these are the moments that he wants me to come. Like when I'm in these spaces, this is where he wants me the most to come and give it to him. And so I will say that I'm at a 6.5.
That's real. And so that's your answer from a scale from 1 to 10. You had a 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. Thank you for sharing that. I love to hear where people are at. Number one, because we know how to support you in community. And also, again, we see that you are human. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. I want to share mine. I'm going to do 1 to 10 as well. I would say right now, I think I'm about like an 8, which is
Okay.
good for
Oh.
me because, so normally I do a scale from 1 to 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning of the year, I just was like going through, and I was allowing myself emotionally to be where I'm at. Because if anybody watches this podcast over and over, they know that I say we honor all emotions over here.
Right.
We ain't gonna get stuck at a 1, 2, 3, 4
Nope.
forever. You know what I'm saying? But if that's where we at, that's where we at. And I was just, I was there for a few months. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy that I can look back on these last few episodes and say that gradually, honey, I've been climbing up. I feel really good today.
That's good.
Even in the midst of this confusing weather, because those gloomy days just make you want to bundle up, eat some ice cream, rub your feet together, and do whatever.
And
Okay.
I'm a fall baby, so I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. So I'm happy to say, like today, I'm an 8. All is not perfect, and I don't want it to be, but
Right.
I do believe all is well, and all is how it should be. So I'm happy to say that today.
Yeah, that's beautiful to recognize like where you've been and knowing that it's never going to be perfect. And if we continue to strive for perfection, we're always going to miss the mark. So progress, not perfection.
Come on, progress, not perfection. I actually say that to my 6-year-old. So you know how like parents will always say, or coaches will always say to kids or people that are coaching, they always say practice makes perfect. I don't even want to put that pressure on my child, baby,
Yep.
because he go to a little private Christian school. He know one nobody perfect but Jesus, okay?
Yes.
And so the motto over here is practice makes progress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love, love, love that. So I want to also ask you about some modalities that you may use personally or even in your practice. Have you ever heard of box breathing before?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you practice that personally?
So yes and no. So I'm really big in like just deep breathing, like being intentional of breathing, because of the fact that I tell my clients all the time, and sometimes I find myself going throughout the day where I'm like, I don't know if I really was breathing today. Because like if we pay attention to it, sometimes we're just taking short breaths. Like especially when anxiety and worry is coming up, and it's like we're just breathing just because we know that we have to. But taking that time to really feel yourself take that intentional deep breath, because even when the breath is going out, you can feel like the shakiness. And that's when I know when I'm like, okay, you're overwhelmed because your breath is even the way that you're breathing is like that. And so I definitely intentionally have been focusing on, like, even how I start my day, like taking at least 5 intentional deep breaths before my feet hit the floor, because as soon as my feet hit the floor, I'm gone for the day. And so that I am taking that intentional breathing in 1, 2, 3, so yes, doing the box breathing. But my biggest thing is making sure that I'm grounded and just taking those intentional deep breaths.
Absolutely. So the second segment that I have here, I always do it with each guest, because I always tell people, we talk about so many different things on this show. And so whatever you were doing right before, it could have been a client, it could have been you setting up for your day, writing some notes, whatever. Now we pause and we go into this podcast. So we did our cute little intros, greetings, or whatever, but this is the time that I like to intentionally pause before we get into whatever we're going to talk about. So if you don't mind, we're going to do what I call box breathing. And it's so many ways you can do it, but I do this one personally. I do it on the podcast just to reset and recenter. But I do counts of 4. So of course, breathing in for 4, holding for 4, release for 4. And we do that just 4 times, essentially. So if you're seated, of course, just, get relaxed, how you tell your clients and all that stuff. And also, hey, Kayshell, what's up, Pete? Hey, Chris, hey, y'all. We're about to get into our mindful breathing and also our box breathing for this portion of the podcast. So just relax yourself. And when we're ready, I'm going to count us off and go. In for 4, 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, release. 2, 3, 4, inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, release. Third one, inhale for 4 and hold. Release. Last one, let's make it count. In for 4 and hold. Release. Girl, I be needing that every time.
Yeah.
Life is so busy, and as business owners,
something so simple.
I feel so relaxed. It doesn't take much. It really does not take much. And I always tell people it's free, it's accessible. Anybody with any ailment can do it. Everybody. You might have a little trouble if you're on a little breathing machine or something like that, baby. But, just take your time and get through it. Thank you for doing that with me.
Absolutely.
So let's get into it, honey. So Miss Jessica P. Hill, what does that P stand for? Were you married before? Is that a middle name? What's the T, girl?
No. So it is so funny because my supervisor is Nikki Shaw, and everybody at the agency, like, when they say my name, it's Jessica P. Hill. Like, they do not say Jessica Hill. It's Jessica P. Hill. But it's my middle name. My middle name is Patrice. Cool fun fact with my family. So it's just me and my older brother. And so my parents' name are Michael and Patrice. And so they wanted to put their names in our names. So my brother's name is Christopher Michael, and I'm Jessica Patrice. And so I always tell, I would always say, like, when I get married, I struggle with wanting, I don't want to hyphenate, so to say, but I struggle with that Jessica P, like that, like letting that go. So my thing is that when I get married, I'm like, look, my daughter gotta have the Patrice. If I gotta drop Patrice, then my daughter has to have it. So yeah, that's the T.
I love that, honey. Let me not leave off the P, honey. Let me put this in my notes. Jessica P. Hill. Period. I love that. So I know from our talks that you are a country girl. And before we get into that, I want to shout out the St. Luke Legacy Center. You mentioned Nikki. That's my girl. And Corinne, we went to middle school.
Don't forget her Y.
Don't forget the Y. Because listen, let's talk about that Y. Corinne Y. Carter. First of all, little tiny self is such a force, okay? We went to middle school together for a stint. I always talk about this when I do my public speaking, how terrible I was in school. I got kicked out of here and there and everywhere. And good old Richmond City, they did me a good one. They set me down for about a month. My mom had to go to a hearing. I had to go to a hearing. They was like, what we gonna do with this girl? She's so smart. She just can't get out of trouble. So they said, she must be in the wrong environment. So they said it's only like 3-4 months of school left, child. Let's send her to Benford. If you can't get your act together at Benford, it's you the problem. That's a model school. It's a great school at the time. So I went over there, and that's how I met Corinne. Always just sweet, lively energy, and a whole boss. I'm not surprised to see all the things that she's doing in the community, and I'm just so happy. And you are over there as one of their therapists. I'm gonna let you talk about that, but I wanted to talk about Legacy Week that just happens. It also happens to fall the same week of Soul Rise Essentials business anniversary. So each year I'm like trying to figure out how I'm participating Legacy Week, and then also honor my business as well. So it's been great over the last 2 to 3 years being able to partner with you all, and just the legacy, and also how involved Magdalena Walker's story is woven into the building that y'all are in, one of her old buildings, and just the legacy Corinne honors of hers, and also our collaboration. Do you have your necklace on today?
I have on my legacy necklace. I don't have.
Let me see it.
I don't know if you can see it.
I'm gonna flip this over in YouTube, but that says legacy, y'all. Do you know who was a partner and a sponsor helping that necklace come to life?
I mean, we have sold out. We have sold out of the necklaces.
She did not tell me. Tell Corinne, call me if she needs some.
I don't have any. I think the last time we were doing like a giveaway for an event, and it was only like 3 left. It was only like 2 or 3. So yeah, we have to make another purchase because I want another one.
I love it. So the story behind those necklaces, y'all, that writing on her neck is the handwriting of Corinne's grandmother, who is still alive. What is she, 90?
She is 92. I think
92 years old. That is her handwriting. I was able to get her handwriting on a beautiful necklace, the same quality that y'all know from the Soul Rise Essentials brand. We partnered for this year's Legacy Week to have necklaces with her grandmother's handwriting, the word legacy.
Y'all and everything, and it hasn't turned, so
it ain't gonna turn. It's waterproof, tarnish free, hypoallergenic, all of that. And then when you said Corinne Y. Carter, I also got some necklaces made in grandma's little handwriting as well for Corinne and all of her cousins that have the same last name. I just thought that was beautiful. So to be a part of the Black girl magic, life comes really full circle. To know that we went to middle school and we working kind of in the same field and pushing the community forward, all of us. I just love it.
Anybody that knows me knows that I don't play about the St. Luke Legacy Center. Like, don't come for it.
Tell us more for those of us who don't know what that is.
Yeah, so the St. Luke Legacy Center, we are in the original business space of Maggie L. Walker. For those who you all do not know, Maggie L. Walker was the first African-American woman to found the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank, which is right here in Richmond. And so it is such an honor for us to walk into that building. And, we are in the heart of Jackson Ward, and we always say, like, so much goes on around that area. And to be there for the last 4 years and to not have been touched, like, knock on wood, like, we have not been touched. We have not experienced, so many things that we've seen youth die outside of the building, like right around the corner. It's always something going on around there. And so every time we walk in that space, it's a covering that we feel to just walk into her lineage and her legacy. And so Legacy Week, of what Miss Soliel, did I say that? What Soliel said, we do this every year in paying homage to her. Her birthday is July 15th. And so every year we do events for us, by us. So it's a week long of events. We're focusing on the pillars of legacy for us, which is mental health, physical health, financial health, emotional, social, and community. And so every day we have different events for the community in some way. And on July 15th, we always, it falls differently every year, but it's always within that week, just honoring her. And so it's amazing that we get to walk in that. Anytime I have people to come into the office, I take them on show and tell. We actually have her original vault in the back of the office today. It is, of course, a storage space now, but how to open it is literally like, you know, turning it like back in the day. So it's amazing being there. I always tell my story with people of, it's so important of how you present. Like first impressions mean everything to people. I met Corinne Y. Carter when I was 17 years old. She always laughs because she said, I'm gonna tell this story to the end, and I am. I met her when I was 17, and she told me, she said, you are gonna work with me one day, like in some kind of way. And at that point, I had no idea. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't know where I would be at this point. Didn't know that I wanted to be into mental health. At that time, I was going to school. I wanted to be a nurse from childhood on up. I wanted to be a nurse, a pediatric nurse. And so when she said it, I'm like, okay, girl, like, I don't know how that's going to happen, but all right. I went on to school, went to Old Dominion, and then I went to grad school, and I am a COVID baby coming out of grad school. So was living in Baltimore, didn't have any money, didn't, know what was about to happen. Everything was shut down. We couldn't take the tests that we needed to get licensed and all of that. And then randomly, I don't even know if she knew I was coming back home. She just reached out to me and said, hey, girl, I got a job for you. And I'm like,
period.
Like, and so I'm like, what do you mean? So I go and I started off doing intensive in-home, like really just getting my feet wet in the field. And here we are now, 10 plus years later. And I am now the clinical supervisor. She is the reason why I have gotten licensed, paid for supervision, everything. So it's bigger than a job for me. Like I always tell people, like, it's no amount of money that somebody can offer me to be like, hey, you leaving the legacy center? Absolutely not. Like it is.
That right there is just a continuance, number one, of legacy, but also Black excellence. And Magdalena Walker's spirit and her legacy is, y'all are just carrying that thing on. And it's so much I can unpack in everything that you just said. But all I can say, honey, is it makes me proud to be Black. It makes me proud to be a Black woman. It makes me proud to be a transplant in Richmond, Virginia, standing on this soil as a Black woman business owner, because we know we stand, y'all literally stand every day on the shoulders of that woman's legacy. Let me say her name, Magdalena Walker, okay? That is a beautiful thing. And I think y'all know that every single day. Even when the work gets tiresome, it's like that is a constant reminder that you're literally on the soil, not only in this city, but on the soil of her shoulders. And I just think that's beautiful. And I know y'all know the charge and the responsibility that you have. And just so people understand even more of the impact that y'all have, when I go to Legacy Week, I'm always experiencing some type of service that is free to the community to further their healing and their wellness. And that's not just during Legacy Week. You can go down to the St. Luke Legacy Center and even look on their website to see the schedule and what's offered to the community. I'm talking about acupuncture. Y'all do community acupuncture. It's a certain, don't just go down there knocking on the door looking for free stuff. But, it's a schedule. But I'm just saying, what else do you guys offer there for the community?
Wellness Wednesday, and I hope I don't get this wrong. It's every fourth Wednesday of the month. And so it is from 4 to 7. And so we offer acupuncture. We have Miss Jaleesa, who is our stretch and recovery coach that does stretch and recovery. We have Miss Cheeky Friend, who does Reiki and tarot reading. And so those holistic wellness practices. So many things that we offer. Like you said, not just come knocking on the door because we're not open in that regard, but follow the website, follow the page to be abreast to all things that we have going on.
Yeah,
center.
Absolutely. And then those same services are available for pay as well. Just go to the website, go to the proper channels, and book those beautiful ladies. Shout out to Jaleesa and Chicky as well. Did I say it right? Cheeky.
Cheeky.
So I got to say it right. Cheeky, honey. Y'all go reach out to those amazing women. I'm sure the website is probably stlukeLegacyCenter.com or .org. Just
.com.
Yes, .com, and also Google. But man, yes, Mom been telling you I want to get you down there for their Wellness Wednesday for acupuncture, but I'm gonna get you and Nikki hooked up. So yes, wanted to shout out Legacy. It would be remiss if I didn't talk about Legacy Week, our collaboration this past year, and also just the beautiful events that y'all offer during Legacy Week, and also the services offered over at St. Luke Legacy Center too. So if you are in Richmond, Virginia, you don't know now, you know, baby. Okay, period. Okay, so yes, you a country girl, child. Where you from? Tell the people.
Yes, I am from the little big town of Charles City, Virginia. I do not go anywhere without saying where I'm from, and excuse me, always rep it to the fullest.
I love that. Do you know the Cotmans?
Yeah.
Okay, of course. Everybody knows them. I love them.
Yes. Cotman is such a Charles City. Like if you a Cotman, you
Yeah,
Charles.
absolutely. So, okay. Um, who were you as a kid? Like, how did you at some point get into the mental health field? Like, was it something that you witnessed growing up, or did you see other therapists in your family? Being from Charles City, did people go to therapy? Did people talk about therapy? Like, yeah.
So how was I? This is such a funny question. How was I as a kid? My mentor, Miss Monica Taylor, it is so beautiful. Like I still call her mom to this day. She was my summer camp counselor when I was 12. And she literally to this day always says, like, you have been the same since a kid. Like always was inquisitive, always was asking questions, just talkative, never was like that drama filled girl, but just always I was just talkative. Every report card, it was, she does well, but she cannot stop talking.
I heard that before.
It was always that. So now I'm like, I get paid, to talk. But did I was not open to mental health. That was not something that was talked about in my community, in my family. Like most people, when people had experienced certain aspects of mental health, it was always the crazy people. So it was never depression, and all of that wasn't talked about. And not to say that in my home it was like, okay, you don't have a reason to be depressed, but I felt like I lived a life, middle class, didn't have certain worries. So like depression wasn't something that really came to my mind, or like, is my mental health okay? It just wasn't the conversations that was surrounding. I started one of my first introductions into mental health, I would say, was I began working as a summer camp counselor. Like I mentioned, my mentor, I took on that role when I was about 19. And very ignorant mindset that I had, like when it came to Charles City, like I looked at us as like, oh, we country kids, like we don't have no issues. Like I didn't look at Charles City the same way that like inner city kids and youth have certain issues. But it wasn't until I got to the summer camp that I started seeing certain things. And even at that time, I was in college. I was in school for human services at the time, but just didn't know that I was going to go for therapy per se. And it was in that moment that I was like, wow, like I really got us messed up, thinking that because I recognized that I was a certain genre and a certain category within the county, there are kids that are here dealing with poverty. They're dealing with depression. They're dealing with seeing their parents go through domestic violence, so many different things, but I took for granted because that wasn't my life. And so I think it was in that time, in that year when I was 19, that I really started to see things differently, even having the opportunity to work with the 12 to 14-year-old girls. And so even now that I have shifted and my passion has shifted, I never forget what that foundation was. And it was that first year and I named them Creating a Better Me. We had themes every year. And so working with those young ladies and seeing what they were going through. And so I definitely feel like it was always something that was inside of me. I just didn't know the name of it, or I didn't have the guidance per se as to how can I move this, or what is this going to look like in the sense of working in mental health, because I also didn't see a lot of this career wasn't something that I saw coming from Charles City. You see, and this is no knock to these professions, but you see nurses, you see hairstylists, you see barbers, you see people working at Dominion Power, those were the typical careers. And so I was not exposed to this until I got to college, until I started being around different communities of like, okay, this is actually something that is a necessity. And even now, from my county, and I'm sure I don't know every single person, but I can name, it's about two of us that are therapists at this moment. So 3 altogether that I can really count off the top of my head. And so it just wasn't something that was, a conversation or open. And so I'm happy to be one of the few that have emerged from it.
Absolutely. So you left Charles City at some point and went to college,
Mm-hmm.
and you went to ODU. I think you mentioned that.
Yes.
At some point, you decided to start therapy for yourself. Where does that come in at? Was that during school, in college, or another time?
So, fun, interesting factor. So, at ODU, they offered in the mental health department, in the counseling services department, we were offered, I think it was either 5 or 10 sessions. I think it was 5. You had, as a student, you had 5, and I think it was like every semester, you were offered 5 free therapy sessions that you could utilize. And once you had hit the 5 and you needed further, they would then refer you to, an actual provider where you would have to pay, use insurance, things like that. I was an advocate. Do you hear me? I was an advocate. I was telling people, and we had this massage chair in there, right? I would go in there and just get in the massage chair. Like literally, you could go in there and book it for like 30 minutes, or if nobody was behind you, you could sit in there for an hour. I was an advocate telling people, y'all need to go to the counseling center, all the things. Had never stepped foot in there and went to a session because I was always in the massage chair. And I recognized that my reasoning why I never wanted to go was because at the time I was, in a situationship, and I knew what I needed to do and I wasn't ready to let it go. And so it wasn't until I went to grad school. So now I'm now 3 hours away from home at ODU. I'm an hour and 15, hour and 25, can hit the road. I then moved to Maryland. Complete culture shock. Again, I'm a country girl and you got me in Baltimore City. What in the world? So it was there that, I'm 3 hours away from home, and I'm very much attached to my family. Like I am still to the umbilical cord when it comes to my parents. So it was being 3 hours away, and that situationship came to an end. So I experienced my very first heartbreak in the midst of grad school, in the midst of being away from home. And so a moment, and even then, this is like when I say the human side of me and how I relate to my clients, of that I've been in the seat. I'm still in therapy. I started therapy in March of 2019, and I'm still in therapy to this day. Took a break, changed therapists, but I'm still in therapy. So I know what that feels like. And it was a moment for me that even though I was in school in the mental health field, I remember that day getting to a point where I had to go on Psychology Today to look for a therapist. And I was literally shaking. Like I was literally shaking because I was finding myself living in the stigma of what it means to go to therapy. And so it was to a point where I was like, Jessica, you have gotten this bad. Like, this is what I was telling myself. You have gotten this bad where now you got to go to a therapist. And I'm in the field. I'm literally going to school to do this. And my mindset was that. But I think that it was so important for me to experience that feeling, because now when I'm talking to people and I'm trying to, I'm very cautious as a therapist, and this may sound backwards. I'm very cautious with like pushing people to therapy, because in a lot of spaces I see so many people, like when I'm talking about therapy, people don't know how to separate me sometimes. And so one of the things is like, if it comes up, if we're talking about it, I'm gonna always say, these are the benefits, and I always lead with that I'm in this. I'm not speaking, when I talk about therapy, I'm not speaking about the benefits from being Jessica LCSW. I'm speaking from how therapy saved my life before I was that. And so I think for me, it was a moment of, I needed to have that. I needed to experience those emotions and those feelings, because now I'm still breaking those cycles of like, no, Jessica, you remember what it was like, and you thought that you were crazy, and you thought that things had gotten so bad that you had to now sit in somebody's seat. And so it was in those moments. And like, I people will always ask me like, how did you pick your therapist? And I tell them, I did horrible. I wanted somebody young, black, and pretty, and it worked. It worked for me at the time. We still have a great relationship to this day, but it got to a point where even before I knew that I was, walking into working with Black men, I always said that my next therapist, I wanted it to be a Black man. And I have that now. And he is the greatest thing that has come into my life.
So much here that I want to I want to talk about. So first of all, thank you for sharing that. When you said that you have a Black male therapist, I have a friend, she's probably about early 40s. she loves her Black male therapist. I've always thought about it, like when you know you get to that point where you feel like you've outgrown, or maybe your chapter with that therapist just has come to an end. You need something a little bit more different. There's also all these other types of therapy that we don't have to get into today because there's
Yeah.
so much there. But that's the one thing I have not tried yet. And if I do need to in the future, I think I will. And I will talk about my therapist later, but I love that you shared that. And I love that you share when you say you picked it wrong at first, right? But it ended up being a good pick. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
will say this. When I was going through the passing of a very dear friend of mine, we were like this.
Hmm.
And there was a homicide suicide situation, trigger warning there. And it was very difficult for me. And I just, at the time, I just want a Christian therapist. That's where I was. I just wanted psychology today. You know, look at who takes my insurance. Love psychology today. Also, shameless plug, if you go to our website, at the very bottom on the left, you'll see mental health resources locally, nationally, and internationally. We do have psychology today on there. We got to put St. Luke. Let me put a note, St.
Yeah.
Luke too. Um, But I found this little white lady, right? No shade to nobody. I'm like, you know, at first it was always like, I want somebody Black that can relate to my experience. But when you talk about grief, everybody's related to
Yeah.
that, relate to that, and loss. And that little inconspicuous little white lady child got me through
Come
that
on.
time in my life. And she was just so gentle and like, didn't need to be Black. And you know, I share that because sometimes we get so hung up on that, and I do think it is important when you talk about cultural relevancy and cultural competency. That is very important. But I want people to know, like, if you have an employee assistance program, or you've been referred to somebody that was first available and they don't happen to look like you or have your experience necessarily, to just be open. It's kind of like going speed dating a little bit. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get, but you sit down, you little, I don't know, easing into it, and then y'all start talking, y'all vibing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I love all of that. I love all those experiences that we can share about like finding the right fit. Sometimes you just gotta keep going, and sometimes you need different things at different points in your life, different perspectives, different modalities, all that stuff. But you had said something about being at ODU. And for those of you who are not in Virginia, that's Old Dominion University. Um, what a lot of people don't know, and I've said it a couple times on this podcast, leaving home and going to college is a pivotal moment in a young person's life, and not for the reasons that you think. Of course, you know, they're going away, they're experiencing new things and new people and independence in a different way on their own for the first time. That's obvious. But a lot of people, and you as a therapist can speak to this too, don't realize that they should really be keeping their eye and their ear on their child, because that big change, especially if you move off campus, even an hour away, 2 hours away, whatever, it can their mind and brain is in a very different space developmentally, and so onset of mental health problems can occur. That's written, and I know I'm not like a professional, but I've read enough books to be like, and I have my own experience at that age enough to know that it's something you should be looking out for, you know. So that was a change for you because you said you are very attached to your parents, right? And so moving away from home, that's a big thing.
Yep.
You in a relationship with someone that was, we didn't talk about this, much older than you.
Yeah.
You know?
It wasn't too crazy.
Okay.
He's about 4 years
Oh,
older.
I thought it was like a older person. Okay.
No, he's about.
Let me stop trying to tell your business and
Right.
okay.
Yes, in my past life, I used to love an older man. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, you're going through your first heartbreak and you're away from home. You know what I'm saying? You can't drive home and like lay on your mama couch in her bed, and you know that's big. And so there are some changes that people in their early 20s. Wait, how old are you? No, you
Yeah,
like
yeah. So when the heartbreak happened, I was 22.
yeah. So that you're like 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. You gotta watch out for your baby. You know?
The thing from 19 to 22. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said that situation, it created a lot of anxiety for you. So how did it get so bad for you to feel like, all right, I need to go talk to somebody?
I couldn't function. I just couldn't function. Like I talk about my mentor, Miss Monica Taylor. She lives in Alexandria, and we talk about it all the time. Like, girl, you let me sleep on your couch for a week. Like, I was on, and it was amazing how God moved. I remember, we had like a snowstorm, so like I may have missed like one day of class, but then it was like every day the classes were getting canceled. We had the snowstorm. It was just like so much that was working in my favor, where I was given that space to just lay on the couch. Like, I didn't have to show up. I didn't have
Yeah.
to at that time. And so I think for me, it was like I have been wanting to try therapy. Like I said, I have been knowing that this wasn't a situation for me. God had been speaking that, and it had been revealed to me many times. But you know, you want what you want. You hold on to what's familiar. And so it just got to a point that I was like, I always knew that therapy was available, but it was still not embedded in me of that you don't have to be at the bottom to receive this help. And so it just got to a point where I was just like, I have to do something.
Yeah.
Like, something. And so my mom, she's like, you better go and look and see what the insurance, because you know, you got people with the EAP. And so I'm looking at that and I'm like, Mom, I don't like none of these people. I'm like, I don't know. She was like, well, you need to use what's free. But it ended up being, I was paying like $25 but which was a lot still, because you know, I'm a college student. I'm not really making no money. But it was me being aware of it, me being aware that this is available, and just kind of getting out my own way of like, Jessica, you can't do this by yourself. And I have always been very self-aware about burdening, not so much because I hate saying that, but I have always, I feel like, had a good boundary setting when it comes to friendships and you know, family and things. I don't want to become the girl that when you look down at your phone and you see Jessica Carl and it's like, oh Lord, here you go. So I knew that I needed to tap into my community, but I also knew that it was not their burden to carry with listening to me every single day, processing and on Instagram, stalking the other girl and doing like, I needed somebody that could help me and give me tangible things versus becoming that burden to my community where every talking to me while I'm going through, this is what I'm putting on your plate.
Absolutely, child. When I think about my first heartbreak at that age, oh, delusional. Okay. We have to go through that though to be these wise women that are able to stand in the gap for other girls. Like you and I did a girls youth symposium back in like March together.
Yes.
Shout out Dr. Tillery for having us there. That was an amazing event. It was such a pleasure to be there. Oh, and the Sigma Gamma Rho girls. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It was a pleasure to be there. And even though we didn't directly speak together, just to be in community with other women who've been through it, who get it, who are pouring back into the community. Because there's so many people that say, well, this generation just this and that, but we interact with them all the time. They need us. They want us. When we speak, they're paying attention. They're asking questions. And so I implore anybody watching this that's standing on the sideline talking about Gen Z and Gen Alpha, get involved. Because they do need us and they do want us. But it's great to stand in community with women like you that we done been through it. We done walked the walk. As the flyer said, now we talking, now we talking the talk because we've lived it. But heartbreak, child, in your 20s is a so I get it. You know, there are those of us who are 30 and 40 and 50 and still dealing with heartbreak the same way we did when we were in our 20s. So it doesn't go away necessarily because of age. And so I appreciate you speaking out about that, because some people may say, you know, it's just anxiety. And like, no, it's not just anxiety. There are so many attachment styles and issues and the way your brain is processing everything. This part up here, prefrontal cortex, ain't even done developing yet. So you don't know how to rationalize.
Really crash out mode.
You crash out.
You are crash out.
You are crashing out. This little part back here, amygdala, she is on one back there. You know, we don't know how to really rationalize because that heart posture, child, that thing, it directs everything that we do in our lives. And so, you know, you're trying to focus on school, the man doing all this, you can't function. Right? You got a degree that you came here to get. We got to get back on track. So shout out to moms for encouraging you to go and like, all right, girl, we gotta get you some help so we can get you back on track. We paying for this school, you know what I'm saying? So Love that. Absolutely love that. And I think we generalize anxiety so much. One of my therapists, shout out to Roots to Results. Shout out to my girl Lanice, who is the owner. What up, Mike? How are you? She is the owner of Roots to Results. She was one of our podcast guests, and oh, such a great episode. She's a therapist as well. She owns her own practice. But those girls over there at Roots to Results, honey, Black women doing the Lord's work.
I love that.
I have one of the best therapists right now that I've ever had in my life. And she is the therapist for this current walk that I'm on right now. I've had some great therapists. I ain't got nothing bad to say about none of them, child. They saved my life and listen to me. Yeah. So all my you gotta listen to it, okay? But so grateful. Just wanted to bring them up. But people, you know, we talk about anxiety in such a fly about random, you know, it's just a part of life at this point. But that's not normal.
Right. No.
It's so not normal. And she showed me, her and my last therapist, Erica Parker, like they've helped me realize I was struggling with it. I didn't even think I was. Because in my 20s, where you were when you had that first heartbreak, anxiety showed up so much differently then than it does now. Right. And so that's not how we meant to live, y'all. And we got a lot of stuff going on that creates this anxiety. So I'm not going to minimize that, but we got to get a handle on that thing so we can thrive again. I had to share that.
Yes, absolutely. And everything has become so normalized. Like we have just normalized, like, oh, well, this is just my anxiety, or oh, this is just my, you know, we have attached our identity to these titles, and it's just accepting that, oh, this is just who I am. Nobody called you and said that this is what it is. Even I don't care what the diagnosis said. You have the ability to own that, or say like, no, I may have this, but this don't have me. And this is not where my story ends. And so I just think that I just hear it so much, like, well, this is just my, like, especially in the younger kids. It's like, you know, they get a diagnosis or hear something. It's like, okay, well, this is just my ADHD. This is just my, it's like, no, we are not just accepting that to be true, but I could go on with that forever.
Okay. And let's talk about how your spirituality, you've mentioned God a couple times. Let's talk about how your spirituality has played a part in your lifestyle. I'm asking that for a couple different reasons. Coming from a Christian background myself, we hear a lot of rhetoric about, well, you know, you can just pray it away. You know, don't be talking about our family business. We don't do all that therapy stuff, and you know, just go to church. And I share a story here on my podcast where I went to my small little hometown church, and what I was dealing with at the time, honey, was greater than that pastor's pay grade. Okay? And his response showed me that. And no knock to my pastor, love that man down. But I could see the fear in his face to like, girl, I don't know how to deal with all that. Pray for you though, and it's gonna be all right, right? And he didn't say it like that, but I just read.
You read the between lines.
That's what I got, and that's when I got my ass some help. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that I'm still walking in answered prayers because of him and so many other people. And so my philosophy is that God is the science, and we discovering it, new ways and all the workings of who he is and how intricate he is. We're still discovering all of that. So I trust God and I trust the science. That's just my personal belief. Yes. I have a therapist and I can have church. I can have therapists. I can have scripture. I can have therapists. I can have my friends. I can have a therapist. I can have Jesus. I can have God, all that stuff. Those are my personal beliefs. But there's people who see it very differently. There's different sects of religion and different sects of Christianity that, and when I say sect, I'm saying, because of my accent, S-E-C-T. So there's different beliefs out there, and that's fine. You know, those are my beliefs. So what do you have to say in terms of your spiritual walk and your going to therapy as a human and your line of work?
So early on,
before you say that, I'm so sorry. Mike King, shout out to Mike King in the comments. that I would love to have you ladies on to discuss these important topics. We would love to come to Mike King Radio, honey.
Yeah, shout out to Mike King. He attended the mentality event that was for Black men, giving not just Black men, just all men, giving them a new defined way of looking at their mental health and in a luxury standpoint. It was at MTK Auto, and so that was on that Friday of Legacy Week to close it out. So shout out to Mike King for attending that event that I hosted. To your question, I learned early on the importance of seeing both. Two things can be true. Like, you can pray and have God, but God also sent people here in a tangible space. And whether this makes sense or not, I early on started having surgeries on my knees. And so even with having the spiritual component, I knew, like, okay, my ACL is torn. God is not going to just heal me just if I'm just going to just keep praying and not going to the doctor and getting this surgery. And so I had 3 knee surgeries before the age of 18. Just had a recent one last year. And so, like, I'm looking at things like that in the physical, of that I could have prayed and prayed and prayed, but God sent this doctor here in the physical to do what needs to get done. And so I look at that the same way, how anytime we have the first cough, sniffle, or sneeze, we have patient first. If something is hurting us, we taking a Tylenol, we're doing something. It seems like when it comes to mental health, that is when everyone is like, you know what, just pray about it. But what about other resources that when something is going wrong, there is somebody that you can call on, and you can have that plus prayer? Because what we know is that one can't be without the other. Well, yes, God can stand alone, but that resource that we're going to cannot stand alone. So God plus therapy, God plus the doctor, God plus the things that have been put here to help us to fix the situation in the tangible. And so, like I said, whether that makes sense or not, I think me having, those physical surgeries so early on, and seeing how I was better, like with praying through it, but how I was better because of it, always just really helped me understand, like, two things can be true. Two things can be true. And that is what I tell my clients of that. Like, sometimes they come in and they're like, what, I just don't know how this is going to help me. Like, this is this. And it's just like, I'm not here to fix you. I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to give you the tools and to help you see things from a different perspective. And so I just feel that early on, I learned, like, two things can be true at the same time.
For sure. Absolutely. So I want to ask you about the Black Man's Therapist, that brand. How did you switch over to that? How did you segue and niche down to offering therapy services to just Black men? And we're going to say ages 10 and up.
Yes. So, I always get this question and I love answering it. So when I started off, like I said, I work with young ladies, I work with women, kids. As a new therapist, typically you don't come out sometimes with a niche of, like, saying, like, this is what I want to do. So you kind of see everybody. But it was always something that I noticed, that I always had more men on my caseload than women. They may not have been as consistent as the women, but when I would write out, like, who are my clients, it was always more men than it was women. And so I started noticing that, it was just this igniting feeling, that it was something about seeing a man get an aha moment of, like, the light bulb going off. And I noticed within myself that I was operating differently. And wasn't that I wasn't doing my best work, or that I was giving women or children anything less, but I saw more of an excitement in me when I was working with that population. I have 3 people, it was 2 little boys when I was in Baltimore that I'll never forget. They were my first introduction to working with, like, little Black boys, and amazing. I wonder where they are now. So that ignited within me. And when I moved here, I had a 17-year-old that was on house arrest, and he was so wise, and had made some mistakes, but I believe working with him was really that start of me saying, like, you know what, I really want to dig into this a little bit deeper. Working at the St. Luke Legacy Center, one of the things I always tell people, I was just so blessed that outpatient therapy is not our bread and butter. We have so many different programs. We have so many different things that we have going on, that outpatient therapy really doesn't bring our agency, like, that's not what's, paying the bill, so to say.
Mhm.
So because of that, I had more autonomy of what I decided to do. If I wanted to see 50 people a week, I could. If I choose and say, hey, I ain't seeing nobody, that's my money. Like, it was not like most therapists. When you work at an agency, you have to meet certain quotas. You have to see 30, 40 people a week. And so because I didn't have that, I was able to strategize to be able to say who I wanted to see. And so I will never forget. And this was really that moment. I didn't know where it was going to go, but it was this particular client that really changed the trajectory of where I was going. He and I were talking in a session, and I don't think that we had been working together that long. And so we started talking about his mother. And you would have thought that his mom had just passed away, the way that he was talking about, the loss of his mom. So you would have thought that the way that he was talking, that she had just passed away. And when I asked him, I said, how long had it been? And he said it had been about 5 years at the time. So I said, and I'll never forget, he was in his car. So, when the sun shines down on you, like, you can kind of see somebody's face, and he started to cry. So I could see like the sun was like hitting on his face. And so I asked him, I said, have you ever had the opportunity to, express the way that you're expressing? Because like I said, it had been 5 years, but the way the emotion that I saw coming up was very much like this. I've never gotten this out. And so when I asked him, had he ever had an opportunity to just express the way that he expressed, and he took a long pause and he looked at me and he said, whoever want to see a black man cry?
Mhm.
And it was in that moment that I said, I don't know what this looks like. I don't know what I'm doing, but I am always going to create space for the black man. And I don't care what my caseload looks like. I'm always going to create that space. And even on a business standpoint, a marketing space, I did a lot of research of like, are there any therapists? Like, yes, there are therapists that work with black men or work with couples, but I realized there was not a person or a therapist that was specifically tailoring to the black man. And so I was like, oh no, well, this me. Like, okay. And so as I started to do it, of course, so much imposter syndrome, so many things came about, of just that feeling of like, number one, girl, you ain't no man. Like, you're not a man. I have gotten so much support, but I've also gotten a lot of hate. Like, I have received everything under the sun, honey. When I say I've received, oh, I'm trying to get chose. What about women and children? Black men don't need mental health. Help. I have received, I'm thirsty. Like, I've heard everything. And so for me, walking in the space, like I originally my page was called Healed Together, where I would come on and do different lives and just provide just therapy resources, things like that. And so I made the transition to the Black Men's Therapist December of 2023, but I really didn't start walking into this confidently until about May of 2024. And I went to a conference, and I went to see my hero, my mentor, Bashe Williams. He was being honored at this conference in Maryland. And walking in this space, I was so nervous. But by the end of the conference, I was the person to meet. Like, everybody wanted to meet the Black Men's Therapist. Everybody wanted to meet me. And it wasn't so much about like wanting to meet me, but it was me walking into a space and being confident about what I'm doing. That it was in that moment that I vowed to God. I was like, in my worry and in my doubt, you showed me that I am walking in this calling that I didn't even know was a calling at first. I thought I'm just putting my name on something, or I'm just creating something, but it was, and from that moment, it has been amazing. And just the feedback and what I've been able to receive. And every moment that I second guess, God sends a nugget. God sends someone to remind me of the work that I'm doing and why I'm here. And so that is my story as to how it came along. I don't even think that I've ever told that client, because he still comes to me today. And I think one day I'm going to tell him, like, do you realize that you are the reason why I stepped into this space? And so
I think you should. That is such a beautiful journey. Hey, Melody, I see you in the comments. What's up, X2 Philly?
that's my best friend.
Hey, Melody. I love this. I'm so glad that I had you on for numerous reasons, but also so, like you said, you can share that story, but also so people can get context. I'm in this phase of my life where it's like twofold. when you're younger, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but when you're younger, I believe that you do, it's just how we're wired maybe, but you got some kids that might just be different. I believe that there's a lot of naivete, there's a lot
Mhm.
of what you just don't know about the world. And so your confidence, for the most part, depending on how you were raised or your temperament, you're just born with this sense of boldness. Even if you're shy, there's just like a lot of stuff you just don't know
Yeah.
about the world yet,
I,
right? You know, and so you're brave. You go after your goals. You say what you want to say. You do what you want to do. But also, a part of you still kind of cares what other people think. You know what I'm saying? Whereas when you start to get older, you mature, and you know that you're chosen, and you know that this is your walk. This is the path that God has you on. He be sending them little winks. You
mm-hmm.
know this is what you're supposed to do. You start to just not care that much anymore, right? Of course, we care to the point we don't want to go out there and just hurt people's feelings and say whatever.
Right.
But as we mature, and you're gonna see this more into your 30s, because I know you have that certainty about yourself. But and I'm learning, you know, every day, every moment, right? It's I'm inching into this more and more. But like, I know that if I ain't hurt nobody, then what you got to say about me ain't none of my business,
Come
right?
on.
And it doesn't hurt sometimes, right? But you just come into more this knowing in the power and position that you know God gave you. This between me and them, me and God, right? So what you talking about, I can't really let that affect me too much. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm saying that to say, like, I hear people say things like, and I'm not even exaggerating, mental health is not real. Um, Anxiety is not real. Schizophrenia is not how you gonna say that? That's crazy. You know? So I've heard it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be from just a regular lay person, it could be a religious person, it just all kind of stuff. And so you can find out there whatever narrative it is that you want to be biased toward. We
Mm-hmm.
get to what we have faith in and what we believe in. But what I know and what I think you know at this point is that when we're doing what we're supposed to do, the reward for that is way more sweet than what anybody got to say. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm saying all that to say that I love that you were able to share your why
Mm-hmm.
and also the how. Because what you said to me at one point was so pivotal. You said you love when you work with male clients and they have those black male clients and they have aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is so powerful. And to have your male client say to you, your black male client say to you, don't nobody who want to see a black man
Right.
cry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know, I'm sure that because I had my curiosities, I'm like, why the black man? But why not?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting because so many I receive, I never take it for granted. I have some clients that I've worked with for some time. I've had some that have been in two or three sessions, and they're sharing with me stuff that they've never shared with people. And I don't take that lightly because I understand energy and spirit is real, and that you're not just gonna open up to, and I'm talking like these are people that have never seen me in person. Like you are literally seeing me through a screen, and you're telling me about the sexual assault that happened to you when you were 8, and you're telling me about things and the traumas and the triggers that it's causing, and you've never shared it with your parents. Like I worked with a client one time for a couple of years, and he finally told me he had not talked to he had never told his parents because he didn't want the reaction. He was afraid of the reaction that was going to come from it. And so literally walking him through the moment that he told his dad about what happened. And it's like moments like that it's like, God, I will never take for granted. I will never take for granted that you trust me enough with your boys. Like you trust me with your sons to carry this. And again, I know it's God because I don't, it's like you trust me with this heavy mantle, but he doesn't allow it to permeate so deep in my spirit where I can't sleep at night. And that's the thing. And that's the big thing because a lot of therapists do not learn that early on either, of like how to, the importance of tapping into community and also kind of cutting it off. And so I just think that all around these things that I have encompassed, I didn't learn that. Like there wasn't something that was learned. That some of this stuff is like, and even when I'm in sessions, I tell my interns, you have to be grounded in something, like higher power, God, Buddha, Allah, whoever you serve. You have to be grounded in something, because so like there are so many times that I'm in these sessions and I'm like, I don't have it. Like I don't have, like, clinically, I'm still growing. I'm still learning. Some of the stuff is beyond. But in that session, that client don't know that. And as soon as they leave, I'm on my knees and I'm thanking God, because I'm like, God, I didn't know what to say. Like I didn't know what to do in this moment. And so it's really, I don't even know where I was going with that, but just kind of going back.
That's so good. I just love that you're in purpose and in your power. That was, it might sound deep and woo, honey, but he put it inside of all of us. It's up to us to remember and to reclaim and walk in that. And you're doing that. And you had said that essentially, thank God you don't look like what you be hearing and what you be going. Okay. There are people that, again, it's just some of us, it's not on us, it's in
Yeah.
us. You're one of those people. So when you have those moments of worry and doubt, honey, come back to this podcast, okay? And just remember that those are normal. It means you're still alive. It means you're not desensitized. It means you're human. It means you have humility. You're humble. But just know you are that girl, and he chose you for such a time as this. I was reading the book of Esther for the first time. It's such a short. Y'all got to read that. It's really good. When, Mordecai told her, "Honey, you were what? So what if you were born for such a time?
Come on.
Okay, this is
you are called to get these people out. You
come on.
go to him and tell him, like, I love it. I love Esther was good.
If you don't speak up and tell these people who you are, who you're related to, all these people about to die. Okay, they're about to continue to be killed. You know what I'm saying? And so if you don't use what he gave you, there's so many men, so many Black boys who will not self-actualize, who will not learn how to emote, who will not learn to love themselves, and in turn love other people, and in turn make better decisions, so we can really walk out and live that Black lives do matter. We can walk in that, in our fullness. Okay, so baby, I could keep going, but I gotta go to work and back to do it.
Yes.
But I love, love, love for any man out there, since that is who you are serving, Black man. What do you say to those men who are raising their boys and also telling themselves and other people to believe, we don't do that, we don't go to therapy, that's for suckers, we don't do that, that's that soft shit? What you got to say to them?
You are human. You are human. And one of the things that I see so much is that our men often have to choose between being a man and a human. Both of them can coincide together. And so crying is not a weakness. Expressing yourself does not make you weak. Identify what is safe space for you. Like, and overall, just, you are human. And a human is not of male or female. That's all I got.
I love that, honey. And last question, as a woman, a Black woman, what do you think are the benefits of a how do I want to word this? I'm sure there's another way to say it. I'm just say it. For the people who say, and people have choice, right? They can do whatever it is they choose to do, but what are the benefits of a Black male choosing a Black woman therapist?
A Black choosing a Black woman. So I would say that I don't want to make this generic, but essentially most women have that nurturing factor. You have that, it's just in us, like that, come and lay in my bosom. So I think that the culturally competent piece is a factor. And again, I don't want to generalize, because I could be Black and have never lived in the hood or never lived in the Beverly Hills, and it's just like I'm just completely, and you could be from either of those parts, and I'm just like, whoa, I don't know. So I think someone who has the ability to, even if they have not lived that life, that they can, empathize, and they can, come and sit in the seat with you. I think just overall having a woman that sees you, the benefit of like a black woman that's understanding what the black man's struggles are, and that they see you and understanding like, hey, I'm not you. I can never say that I know what you're going through, but I can sit and listen and we can work through this together, and you know that you have a champion behind you. So I just think that just having that champion beside you, and again, I'm not sure if that's just like, I don't want to just generalize, because every black woman may not have that, but I
Yeah.
think that is the having that champion beside you.
And one of the final things I'm gonna say, because I talk to many people about when I go to these schools,
Mm-hmm.
and oh, I see Bashay, the person you were talking about earlier, I think. Will
Yes.
I tell people, how surprised I am when I go to school specifically and I'm seeing how locked in the boys are. The first thing they say, oh, it's because you cute. First
uh,
of I'm not even everybody's cup of tea. Y'all,
right.
me. Okay, first of all, okay, you think I'm attractive, fine. But they ask questions and they're so dialed in and
Yeah.
they're so into what I'm talking about. I'm talking about mental health, mental wellness, the school to prison pipeline. The number
Yeah.
one thing I'm asking these kids, especially boys, is do you know what the school to prison pipeline is? Let's make you aware so
Yeah.
that you know that there's a system. And
Mm,
we ain't gonna get you caught up in it. Now that you know, you
yeah.
should be up in there.
Mm-hmm.
They're locked in. And maybe it does give us a little benefit that we're attractive in some people's eyes.
Yeah.
The impact is there. And so
Yeah.
again, I'm gonna say what I've said at least twice before on this podcast. It's not on us, it's in us. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that God gave us to be able to relate, to step outside of our personal experiences.
Right.
And even in our experiences, have people relate to that, but then we can practice empathy and step in and see somebody else and like give them an outlet. Number one, to be heard. We ain't just trying to talk all the time. We trying to listen and see what the need is, and if we can help it, we're gonna try to meet it. If I don't know somebody, I'm gonna refer you to Jessica.
Right.
If somebody, I'm gonna refer you to this person here, this male therapist, whatever it is. That is truly a gift, though, to have people in your presence, even though you shine brightly, to have them also feel seen is a gift, and
Yeah.
that has that. So for the people that think, oh, you just doing it because you cute, it
Mhm.
ain't just that, baby.
Right. But I also want to speak to that for a second too, because this comes up in my practice, not often, but I've had some moments. But the truth of the matter is that when you think about your own life, when, like I said earlier, when I decided to go into therapy for myself, I wanted somebody young, black, and pretty. Why? Because when you think about the people that you are talking to, like when you think about the people that you are giving your deepest, darkest secrets,
Yeah.
how often are you really sitting across from somebody that's not attractive? And it's not that you want the person, but the truth of the matter is that when we look in our community, our friendships, you're not talking to, I don't want to say this very mean, but most people that you are telling your things to is attractive and not ugly. So if you are going to sit and talk to somebody, for the most part, the first thing that you're going to choose before you look at any caption, before you look at any description, you are seeing like this person, okay, they look all right. Like that's literally what it is. And my clients, when I have this conversation with them, because I always ask, what was it about my profile? Not even just of how I look, but how I present, what I'm saying. What was it about my profile that made you want to reach out? And I can see some of the guys like, they don't want to. I'm like, my picture was pretty, right? I'm sure they like, I didn't want to say that. I said, but look, I said, this is reality. What I know, and my Nikki and Corinne always laugh at me because they know I take pictures every 6 months. I take pictures at least once a year or every 6 months because it is my marketing strategy. And
Mm.
what I understand is that my face is the first thing that you see. So if I'm sitting up there looking busted and disgusted, you're gonna be like, oh, let me not even read. Like I know that is gonna draw you in first. And again, that's not my goal. My goal is not to sit here and have you to be attracted to me. But what I recognize is that when I'm looking for somebody, or when I look at my community and who I'm close to and who I talk to, 9 times out of 10, a lot of the people that you are talking to and who you are around on a daily basis are people that are attractive.
All right, baby. You have said something out. Jessica P. Hill, aka the Black Man's Therapist. And are you accepting new male clients right now? Black men?
Yes, yes, yes.
How can people reach you?
You can reach me on my website at www.theblackmanstherapist.org. You can go to anewlegacy.org and submit a referral, or you can send me a direct email. You can send me a DM on the Black Man's Therapist page, or direct email at jhill@anewlegacy.org.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming and joining us in the Soul Seed. Child, I'm sure I was somewhere very big. I'm just gonna make some closing announcements, but they got a little X down there. You can go on and click that and get back to your busy day. But thank you for being a thriver and for being a partner in community as we do some amazing work to push our community and our people forward, honey. You are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yes, yes, yes. Y'all, that wraps up episode 48 of Soul Seed Conversations with Jessica P. Hill, LCSW, aka the Black Man's Therapist. Wonderful episode. If you are now just joining, you can go ahead and go back to the front of this video. Thank you, Mom, for watching the whole thing. We got to get you down to St. Luke Legacy Center very, very soon. And we will see you next month, honey, for episode 49. We almost at 50 episodes once a month, y'all. We've been doing this for 49 months, honey. Do the math. Okay, do the math. Shout out to the Soul Tribe family live here with us during this episode, and also to each of you watching the replay. Make sure you put down below #replay. And if you made it to the end, go ahead and drop us some sunshine emojis down in the comments as well. Again, if you have a story that you want to share, get on the calendar, baby, because 2026, we already booked, okay? My story at soulriseessentials.com. Remember to be well, stay well, mind your mind, and shine your light. I will see y'all for the next episode of Soul Seed Conversations. Peace. Go get you some merch. soulriseessentials.com.